Welcome to another episode of The Man Who Woke Up the Buddha. This is Season 2, Episode 4. There's no success like failure. And as Bob Dylan said, failure's no success at all. Previously, Sid enlisted his 13-year-old grandson Willy to help him figure out why he was mumbling Pizarro after surgery. In the process, Sid sang excerpts from Stairway to Heaven and got Willy to take on the role of the 13th century Spanish conquistador, Pizarro. Sid began clapping, "Bravo, Willy, bravo," after his grandson's command performance of Pizarro, in which he arrogantly described how he and his small band of men defeated thousands of Incan warriors and their king, Atahualpa. Willy opened his eyes and broke into a broad smile. "That was good, huh, Sid? I really felt him." "You did great." "Is that what you do when you pretend to be the Buddha?" Sid was taken aback by how strongly he reacted to the word pretend. Well, the Buddha thought, one person's reality is another's illusion, and vice versa. No need to distinguish between them. "Yes, except I'm not acting, Willy," Sid laughed, splitting hairs before gripping his throat and beginning an explosive fit of coughing. Willy was about to yell downstairs to get his grandmother, but Sid raised his hand and waved him off like it was no big deal. "I'm going to close my eyes for a few minutes, Willy. How about you read me what you can find out about this Atahualpa guy? Never heard of him." "Oh, don't you need to sleep, Grandpa? If I drift off, I'll hear you even better. It'll go straight to my subconscious. You wouldn't believe what's going on down there." Okay, Grandpa, Sid, I know what you mean." He doesn't have a clue, Sid thought. Makes it even better. "He knows more than you think," the Buddha smiled to himself. "He even knows more than he thinks." Willy's thumbs flew like Mexican jumping beans on his keypad until he found a simple summary of Atahualpa's side of the story. Sid was now breathing deeply, with a little bit of snoring, so Willy began reading in a whisper. "Pizarro and his men set up camp in Cajamarca," Willy sounded out the strange word phonetically, "a small town in the Andes, and invited Atahualpa, again phonetically, for a celebration. Pizarro said was to honor him." "Speak up, lad," Sid said with a smile, but without opening his eyes. He began dreaming it as Willy read. "Wow," Willy had started reading ahead. "It's just like Pizarro said. The king had 5,000 men, with tens of thousands more in the hills, while Pizarro had only 200. Three arquebuses, 2 falconets," Sid said quietly in his sleep. "Huh?" Arquebuses are big guns, and falconets are little cannons," Willy reported, as if his grandfather had asked. "Like maybe he talks in his sleep?" Slingshots," Sid grumbled dismissively. Wait, Willy wondered. How did Sid know about arquebuses and falconets and slingshots? Well, maybe he learned about Pizarro and Atahualpa in school. But that was like 100 years ago. The thought made Willy laugh a little to himself. Nervously. It was like watching a suspense movie that you hope is going to end well, but maybe not. He went back to his reading voice. "The Incans trusted Pizarro, but then, instead of paying homage to the king, Pizarro sent a friar named de Valverde to convert him." "To convert me? What an outrage!" Sid peeked at his grandson. "Here we go." "And when I refused, he took me captive." Willy realized he was shouting. It had come out of nowhere. It was getting confusing. He quieted right down because he didn't want to disturb Sid. "The Incans didn't know what to do without the king's instructions," he read. "So Pizarro's men quickly slaughtered them all. But Pizarro made sure the king was spared. Bah! How else would he get my gold and silver? He tricked me again and again. He's the heathen." The scene continued unfolding in Sid's fevered mind's eye. Willy stood up from his chair, shook his head, and sat back down, before continuing in his regular voice. "Pizarro got Atahualpa to surrender all his gold and silver as ransom." Willy paused. Then Pizarro accused him of plotting to get rid of the Spanish and convicted him of treason. That's so weird. Willy looked up from reading. It was his country, really. Weird, Sid muttered. And they condemned him to death. Atahualpa was to be burned at the stake. The Spanish believed this would be a fitting death for a heathen. But at the last moment, Valverde offered the emperor clemency if he'd convert. Atahualpa submitted, thinking he'd be saved, only to be executed by garroting. Garroting? What's that, I wonder? Sid choked at the word, but didn't open his eyes as Willy got up from the chair again, threw his fist in the air, and shouted as softly as he could, "But the sun god's wrath still consumed me when I crossed over." The Buddha thought, oh, he wasn't angry. He was just consuming your pride. You came out on the other side all shiny and new. Well, kinda. Willy was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. He had to clench his throat during his last outburst, as if he were going to vomit. Before that, he'd felt pretty much like he was in a school play again. Now, well, it was different. It had gotten just plain freaky. Without even thinking, he stood up and started tiptoeing out of the room, taking refuge in his 13-year-old self. As he left, the scene continued to unfold in Sid's lucid dream world, as Atahualpa's mind began to double helix through past and present. The Buddha watched him as if he were a chrysalis unfolding, and then closing back on itself. "What do you want me to say?" the Incan complained. "That there must be conquered as well as conquerors? That if there had not been an Atahualpa, he would have had to be created? That history demanded that the Spanish conquered us? My fall neither ultimately hastened nor slowed that inexorable shift in the world order." Which makes it neither something to be proud of or ashamed of, the Buddha pointed out. "Well then, great one, what noble lessons do you want to teach me? The limitations of absolute power? The futility of appeasement? Who are you to be angry or impatient?" "I have nothing to teach, and I have all the time in the world," the Buddha said to the king. "I have my own moments of righteous wrath, but centuries apart, and never anger." Atahualpa waved his hands dismissively. "Until my true mission is revealed, the entire Incan Empire will be stuck in history's grasp. No king before or after me has ever suffered a more humiliating and ignominious defeat." He paused for effect. "And I am proud of it. What courage, what wisdom. Game to Pizarro, match to Atahualpa. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same." "Well, that's not exactly the point," the Buddha suggested. "Been there, done that," Sid thought as he opened his eyes, not really sure what there or that was. He pushed himself up a little further, looked around the room, and saw that Dai had left a glass of ginger ale on his night table. The ice was long gone, as was Willy, and Atahualpa was disappearing like a dream you can't quite remember. Sid reached in the drawer and pulled out one of his airplane bottles of bourbon and poured it in. He took a sip through the straw as he and the Buddha lay back, resting in their Buddha nature. The end. People have asked me what the symbol is on Sid's cap. The traditional answer is that it stands for Om, the sacred Hindu and Buddhist mantra that includes all other sounds within it. The Buddha and Sid, however, say that it's a mistranslation of which itself is a bastardization of the sacred mantra, the sound that penetrates all creation. By the way, the main reason the cap is bright red is that Sid's a Red Sox fan. However, some have suggested that a bright red hat with an Om on it is a political statement. The Buddha, of course, doesn't take sides. And by the way, annual paid subscribers to Fields of Vision receive an official Sid Om cap and a limited edition author's proof of Season 1 of The Man Who Woke Up the Buddha. Thanks for listening.